Hi everybody, welcome to Season 5, Episode 17 of the Hard Truth Inside the Football Industry podcast with me, Philip Ideson, and Darragh MacAnthony, the chairman and owner of Peterborough United. Now, it's been off the field, an interesting week for you. How are you feeling today? I mean, we're recording on Monday, and I think I detect a few sniffs still.
I've got like the flu, the back end of the Dubai trip, basically. The barber's giving me the flu. He was coughing all over me, the cunt. He was spluttering. I could tell. It's the only time in my life I was nearly going to say, bring back masks. I'm joking. So it's like, and I've got that lurgy.
You didn't have one in your pocket ready to go, just in case.
I've got the lurgy, and it's just like, But the worst part was I went to the Everton game in the Cup, and I felt so bad. I don't know. I was, I straight away always go to I'm dying. Like I felt bad. Like I was just not feeling well. And I was like, I was just, everywhere was just at me. And I had to fly on the Saturday after the Everton game to the UAE for 3 days to sign some documents for a business I'm doing out there. So I traveled back from Everton. I went to the UAE, the worst flight of my life. I'm in bits. I'm in pain. I'm in whatever. I'm like, now I'm thinking, Jesus, what's going on here? Straight away your mind goes to everything. So I ended up in a clinic on the Sunday in Dubai, and they were running tests. Thankfully, the guy was like, we think it's a kidney stone. So I'm like, oh, thank you, if that's all it is. But then I'm thinking, Christ, last time I had kidney stones, I couldn't pass them. And I had to have surgery 6 years ago. And that's where they go up the old, what, and it's horrible. Mm-hmm. So then he was like, look, we're going to get this machine in to do shockwave therapy. So it's like a surgery. There's only one machine in the UAE. I was meant to be flying the next day back to the UK. So he was like, we've got this date now. I'm like, I need to get this done. So I ended up spending 7 days in the UAE in a hotel room, basically for 7 days on my own, never left the place, just to go to clinics for CT scans and normal scans and x-rays and all that. And then I went into hospital for a day on Thursday where they knocked me out and then did this ultra thing, which apparently worked. They hit it 300 times and they grinded it down. But I just feel so bad still. I've been on medication all week. And in between all this, I'm signing players Barry during the window. Yeah. I'm the Thursday or whatever day it was, I was going in. I've got my earpiece in while I'm being wheeled down the corridor.
This is the time for Darren to ask for anything he wants.
I'm just like, they hadn't put me under yet, so I was still corpus mentis, so I was still pretty much, relevant. But I was knocking out the 2 defensive deals and obviously doing the Sparks has gone somewhere. So I was just approving those deals and reading emails with contracts and stuff. So it's been a rough week. I still feel rough, but I need to kick on now. Jesus, the start of 2025 has been just rotten on that front. So, enough feeling sorry for myself. It's just like, and then obviously I get out on Saturday, Friday, or whenever they release me. And Saturday, I'm watching the game. I'm not allowed to fly back until I do a final x-ray to see if the 2 stones are gone. One was in the kidney, one was in the airwave, and da-da-da-da-da. So I had a flight booked. I went in, I'm praying, and he's like, they're gone. I'm like, oh, I'm straight to the airport and get in late last night. And I'm feeling like this from the lurgy. I went to the barber's, and like I said, he was coughing and spluttering. And I've just woken up, like, cut off the flight last night, just feeling, But anyway, enough of that. I'm sick of I ain't even taking pills. I'm sick of it all week long. It's been pain pills and antibiotics and urinary pills and all these kind of pills to help. It's just, there's nothing worse. So anyway, on with football. You know what I mean? Where do we start or where do we finish?
In the meantime, before you go into the games, you've had the fun of dealing with the fallout of announcing the kind of look at the club's branding.
Oh God, and, apparently my idea, apparently, according to some.
And honestly, well, we'll get to the thinking behind it in a minute, but some of the vitriol that I've seen online because of it is.
I think we have to be careful. Like some of the stuff I've seen written to Clive and stuff like that, and he needs to stay away from some of the all the death threats and shit like that. So, no matter what you think of anyone who works for a football club, and I saw people saying we didn't come out and defend them. Well, again, I was pretty much out of it the last few days, and I saw last night somebody sent it to me, the stuff, and I was just like, what on earth? I don't know what's happened with Posh social media, and I guess it coincides with not winning and struggling and not being ourselves this year. And that's just kicked off people and heightened it to a different level.
It's not just Posh. I'll jump in right now and say, I mean, that's what I've seen with us for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but some of the vitriol and the stuff, I mean, again, it's you're not winning football games. Things aren't great. You're having a bad season, and people just want to take it out on social media. But I always say, you know, we have thousands of fans, and I think when there's 20, 30, 40 voices, and it's a lot of the time it's the same voices, when you go and look at the patterns, it's the same people. So for Clive to go through that, it's out of order. So let me just take you back to when it was. So the first I heard of it was, and I save everything in Dropbox, I want to say it was in November, October, where I got an email from, obviously, you know, CEO, you know, people running the club saying, look, we've had this brought to us, and it's come through the marketing department and whatever else, and it's all about branding. There was a whole document to it. And I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so, and I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. So I'm kind of always like with change. Ask my wife what I'm like for change. I'm just like, not, you know, not one of those people. But at the end of the day, I said a year ago, when I brought in these people to run the club at CEO level and marketing level, and that you have to allow them to bring any idea and be open to any idea that's brought to you. You know, if it's for the betterment of the football club and for certain things and whatever. Alex Dawn, Clive and marketing felt quite strong that this is something we needed to investigate. As we go into, you know, modern times and things change and whatever else, they were like, look, we need to look at this. Let's digest and study the document that this branding company's put together. For people saying we've spent silly money, it's cost less than $3,000.
Right.
That's all it's cost. It was brought to me. My response, and I save every response, was, look, I don't know a lot about this. I'd seen some of the things at Cambridge United and other clubs. So straight away, I was, you know, red flags and whatever going. But if you guys think this is something you want to investigate, you have carte blanche to investigate it. But I hold the ultimate veto. Like Clive keeps saying, board of directors, I hold the veto. Yeah. You know, with all due respect to the board of directors. So, you know, I put in the email, proceed, spend the $3,000 or whatever it was. But ultimately, at the end of it all, I'll look at it all, digest it all, and I'll make the ultimate decision. And that's always been the way. Now, whether the wording was wrong when we put it out there, like it was a given, and this is something that's happening, I can assure you 1,000,000%, whether last week didn't go this negatively and it was all positive and everyone was loving it, I'd probably be the bad guy then saying, well, actually, no, I'm going to take everything into account. I'm going to sit down and talk to Dawn, to Alex, to Clive, and go through it and go, right, is this what our fans want? Is this what's good for our club? Is this what we need to do? And if we don't do it, how does it affect us? And if we do it, how does it affect us? So everyone needs to calm down, let the process play out. It's not about trusting the process. Let the process play out. Someone's been paid. They've been brought in. They've got a whole chain of events. I think they were meeting fans on Saturday. They're meeting more fans this Friday. And then there's more steps that you go through. So fair play to Clive. Chris Brewer at first to come out on social media, and he ended up getting into backwards and forwards with some people. Clive's then tried. And I guess it's a case of you're hammered regardless if you try and come out and give an opinion, and, you know, but I also understand some of the fans as well, the reaction, and, you know, traditionalists and people who don't want to see crest change and don't want to see certain things happen with the brand, and why are we doing this? And you've got a lot of people professing to be marketing experts on there and branding experts, and, you know, all these self-made multi-millionaires, you know what I mean, who are just like, you know, we know better. All I'll say is calm down. And also to any journalists listening to this, don't go sticking out silly headlines. This is a case of, we will look at anything that will give us inches and make us better and help us on all fronts. And if this doesn't do that, if this isn't something our fan base wants, 100% won't happen. 100%. And whilst I was getting operated on and having the surgery and whatever else, I saw the reaction afterwards, because I think it was Ian rang me and said, look what's happening. I haven't been on social media for like 48 hours. It was like, look, you know, and I was like, Jesus, and this was just going. So I went straight away to Dawn, to Alex, and said to everyone, you know, guys, this is getting a bit feisty out there. You know, should we invite, you came to me and said, should we get Clive on the pod? Should we do this? Should we do that? Clive, God bless him, did a video. He did a Posh interview, whatever. We might get him on the pod next week. But I'd say to everyone, just let it play out. Again, it's not a given. It's not that we're definitely going to rebrand and change this and change that. People talk about the timing. In time, I want to say it was October. Nobody could foresee by January we hadn't won a game since the old king died. Right. And that we had all these issues, and the team weren't performing at maximum, and all the things that were good about last year were in reverse this year. Nobody could foresee that. But at the same time, you can't, when somebody's made travel plans, and this person comes from the States, I think, and the ship is moving, you can't suddenly go to them and go, well, we didn't win 2 games last week, so don't come over and don't do this and don't do that. There's a whole load of things that have happened in the meantime, you know, so you can't just suddenly reverse course. And we can't just be a football club that everything's reactionary to whether we're winning or losing football games. It's not how Alex runs the commercial department. It's not how Dawn runs the whole football club. It's now all about just winning and losing football games. Your football club's a lot more than just that, as our fans know. So we just can't just be that, club like, oh my God, we didn't win this week. Let's just not do this and let's not do that. And can't operate like that. And whilst fans are saying we're getting treated like customers and no, you're fans and your family and we love you, but you pay. So of course there's an element of that. You are customers and we want to do what's best for you. We want to do what's best for the club. But at the same time, we don't want to alienate you and we don't want to put everyone's back up. And we've done that in the past and we've made mistakes. Of course we have. So all I would say is come that day, let's just calm down, let it play out. And again, nothing's going to happen without my final say-so. As simple as that. And if I don't like what I see, and I'm not enamored by anything in previous clubs that have done it, whatever else, if it's not something, oh my God, that looks really successful, or that looks really good, it's just going to be a hard no.
Yeah.
And that's the hard truth. And that's why I remain. When I said proceed back, because nothing happens without me giving the authority. When I said proceed back in October, it was in brackets below with, by the way, I have final veto on all of this. But by all means, spend the money if you think this is worth doing. And I've done that millions of times with commercial, with Dawn, and 90% of things a lot of the time go ahead and they don't need my final authority. But this is kind of bigger than putting in a few charging stations or changing the style of the store or the shop or the designer. This is kind of bigger. This is our identity. This means more to everybody. So again, you just have to handle it with kid gloves. And yet the timing sucked. But again, you couldn't postpone that. So that's just the way it is. There it is. That's the truth.
And I'm not sure the reaction would be that much different if you went on a bad run. I think so. We went through exactly the same process at Bradford. Months and years blur into each other, but it's probably maybe 18 months ago, a couple of years ago.
Gotcha.
At this point, and it was with the same designer as well that you brought in. So pretty, very process driven in terms of consultation with fans and getting feedback and all those things. And the reaction that I've been watching online this week is a carbon copy of the reaction that we had, because it's a really emotive, passionate subject for fans about you don't realize that so much until you do something like this and you see
it goes from 0 to 100 like really quickly. And I was like, so I'm like dealing with all of this and I'm like feeling rough. And then I signed, 2 players that we'd really gone all out to get signed in. Because my manager really wanted these 2 players. So I was like, okay, fine. We went away from our recruitment philosophy a little bit. We went and got an experienced centre half. We went and got a left back with a bit of experience we tried to sign many years ago. And then the reaction from that as well. And I'm kind of like, what do you want? Like, if I'd gone and signed 2 nobodies and spent £500,000 on the next big things, would again be like, oh, here we go again with the young and hungry policy. Here we go again with, blah, 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 blah. We need experience. I went out and signed 2 League One experienced defenders. I thought, the fans would love that. But again, before the 0-0, the amount of negativity about those 2 signings, because one of them played for Stockport and one of them played much for Charlton. So they must be shit players because they can't get in those teams. It was kind of like, well, no, they were signed because the manager wanted them. It's exactly what he wanted to the end of the season. And both of them, we'd actually gone in for the boy that was at Burton, we'd gone into before, but we couldn't do it because of the wages in the wage cap. We were out by £500 a week, which then went obviously to Stockport, so we couldn't get it through. And the left back, we'd agreed a £500,000 deal with Lincoln like 4 years ago, and he chose Blackburn over us. So I understood why. So 2 players we'd already done a lot of scouting, and when they became available, and I was working on those deals Monday, Tuesday with Gaffer and Barrow, we were like, okay, this could really help us. And we were brilliant against Walsall attacking wise, but defensively probably nervous because Walsall had 50 fucking shots on goal and 100 crosses into the box, even though we looked like we could score anytime we wanted to. So again, it was a case of, okay, we've got to get these 2 in before the next league game, because our young defenders are just, they're giving us and themselves kittens a little bit.
And that Walsall game ended 4-2, didn't it?
Yeah, but it should never have ended 4-2. I mean, what our goalie did with the final kick of the game. I mean, it bit like the FA Cup. I mean, we're our own worst enemy. Some of the stuff going on in the game. I mean, we were so comfortable in the first half. Defensive mistake. You're not comfortable. Score again, comfortable. Come out second half, not comfortable. But the good news was we looked like ourselves attacking wise. Gustav looks like a hell of a signing that we've made. People forget. The signings we made, Gustav was $500,000. The right back we brought in was $800,000. They're 2 new signings for January. It's like, I don't hear about us not investing. You know, we've invested millions this year. Whilst we've had a shitty season, we've invested a lot of money in a lot of good pieces that we think are going to be very good players. So it just all hasn't come together. So it's been frustrating. But, you know, we played a Walsall team that had won 8 in a row. I think everyone expected us to lose the game. We beat them. We then went and played Leyton Orient. I'm sick of playing teams that you're thinking, Jesus Christ, you know, it's like the way they've been hyped up, it's like we're playing Real Madrid. Like, I want to get back to like expecting us to beat everyone we play. I mean, you know, listening to the press before the game on the Posh commentator and stuff about, you know, oh, this Orient side have won 5 in a row and it just had a cup upset. And fair play, they're having a great season, Orient, but with all due respect, I would expect us every day of the week to, at home against anyone in the league, to be going to win.
Favourites, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care whether we're 19th or 25th in the league or whatever. Like, I would expect it with the talent we have and whatever else to be gone. But I guess confidence is a weird thing. And I guess confidence, lack of confidence from players, lack of confidence from fans, lack of confidence from all of us, that we're feeling like we haven't won since the old king died. So we go in, we play Orient, and we drew the game. But our goalie didn't make a save. The Orient goalie really didn't have to make a save. It was a bit of a snooze fest, if I'm honest with you. That much coveted clean sheet, everyone was like, you know, so excited they wanted. And, oh, the only team in England's not a clean sheet. Great, wonderful. Give me a 5-4 any day of the week.
Yeah, that's the Darragh MacAnthony style football.
Any day of the week. Give me that all day long. I was just like, sometimes I'm a bit like, yeah, maybe I'm just not built for, like, you know, 0-0 games and whatever. But I get it. It's a building block. Great. Hoo-ha. Can we get on with scoring goals and winning games again? I you know me, I want to see my team have 20 shots a game. I want to see my team basically like break a goalkeeper's legs with the amount of shots we're hitting on goal. Yeah. So that's how my football, and particularly in League One, that's how I want us to play. I feel we have the players. I feel we're lacking confidence. We need to fucking win again. We haven't won for a long time in the league. Danny, we need to snap the fuck out of it. So, yeah, and I've said this for too long. So, but I'm getting to the point where, listen, clean sheet, great, hoo-ha, let's get the cup out for the clean sheet. But, and to be fair, CJ, brilliant at right back. The left back, who hasn't played all season, who a lot of our fans were, you know, kind of moaning about him coming in, he was fantastic. And then the boy from Stockport is exactly what Manny needed next to him. Talker, a leader. We haven't had that this year. You know, we've lacked that. We've lacked that with people with their own agendas, wanting to move to other clubs, and, you know, leadership from last year where you think they'd kick on and they haven't. And this boy's come in and gone straight away, bang, you know, talking to everyone on the pitch. And, you know, and now, like we've said for a long time, we need those other players who've been here a while, you know, to get their finger out of their own arseholes and start playing.
You talk about the new centre half from Stockport, Sam Hughes, and, you know, and we've talked a lot over the season about putting your body on the line. Absolutely. And, you know, and maybe he's gonna be able to lead by example, you know.
Yeah. CJ at right back is a great one-on-one defender. So, like, you know, Leyton Orient had very little joy down his side. He's a brilliant defender. To be fair, Teo on the other side wasn't bad either. Very good one-on-one defenders. We haven't had that, hence Walsall getting 40 shots on crosses into our box on Tuesday or whenever we played. Leyton Orient didn't have that. Then you had, obviously, Hughes next to Manny. You had two basically man mountains who could head everything out. It's probably the first game I didn't shit myself when a free kick or a corner was given. And to be fair, Nick didn't have, compared to the previous game against Walsall, where there was 40 shots and 30 crosses and there was 10 corners, it wasn't like that. So now we have to we've adjusted. We're like, oh, now we look good defensively. Now we kind of lead the attack now to wake back up again and go, don't just get lazy and let them just boot it up the pitch. Can we get back to dominating possession? Can we get back to attacking? Can we get back to using our width? You know what I mean? Can we get our wingers back in the game? We need Malik to step up and have a run of good games. We need Keane, if he's fit, to do the same. If Ricky comes in, if Gustav is in and out, because Gustav's obviously not fully fit, we need Ricky to close people down like the greyhound that he is. And we need Colin Clark now. We're giving the keys to the team to go, bang, I'm ready now to take over in League One. And most importantly, we need our captain to stop thinking about next summer and put in a performance and put his body on the line for us and be the best midfielder in our league, which he should be by a mile. And that's what we really need. Do you know what I mean? So they're all the things, you know what I mean, you want to see happen. So let's see. We got Exeter tomorrow night. Lincoln away on Saturday. I just want to get us back to winning because, you know, clean sheet and all of that. Baha, boo-ha, whatever. Let's move on and let's score some goals. 5-4, baby. 5-4.
Any more plans for the transfer window?
Not really. Just a couple of bits going out. Just again, like we managed to get those in because we'd moved a couple out. We got Adji Boy out. We got Sparks out. We freed up the cap space. where we might sign one more, might be bring forward. What we don't want to do is have to sign 6 in the summer.
Yeah.
So we know that out wide, 𝗛𝗿𝗄𝗁 will be leaving in the summer.
Yeah.
Potentially we might sign another wide player who we're going to do in the summer. We might bring that into this window. We might.
Yeah.
Cap allowing it to happen. If we do, we'll bring them forward and they'll be with us for 4 or 5 months before the summer. If not, it'll happen in the summer. We've got the Man City boy in midfield who's coming back from injury. He's playing in the 21s game tomorrow. He'll be a phenomenal addition to the squad. We signed him last summer, and that'll be it. There'll be nothing else really coming in. It'll be basically we've got a lot of players in our squad. We, on Saturday, Donnelly wasn't in the squad. Donny O'Brien Brady wasn't in the squad. Who else? Nevitt wasn't in the squad. There was a lot of young assets weren't in the squad on Saturday. So whilst I'm all for keeping clean sheets and doing this and doing whatever and get winning and get up the table, I'm still a big believer in our identity.
And you don't want them just to sit.
I don't want to get miles away from that.
And for the difficulties they've had, this experience they've had is invaluable. You don't want them to lose the benefits of that experience by not, by just sitting them on the bench or having them.
We made a decision 18 months ago that we were going to bring our own players through. We were going to go down this route. This is how the club would reduce its debts. This is how the club would get forward. This is how the club would progress, and whatever else. And and I understand where we are in this moment of time and needing that bit of experience and League One experience and whatever else. But if we're going back to being a team with basically like 11, 27 and 28-year-olds in the team, that's not who we are as an identity. That's not what I want. And but I get where we are at this moment in time. So as always, I'm supportive of that. But now I need everyone in response for me forking out and giving them the support to go and win some football games.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Hard Truth EFL Trophy final is still on. So you beat Walsall. Who have you got next? You got Cheltenham, haven't you?
We got Cheltenham at home. So, keep us at home all the way to the final. Happy days. Who have you got next?
We've got Rotherham away.
Okay, Rotherham, we're starting to find form. So that won't be
easy.
It's a
difficult one. We lost.
But you're flying.
What's that?
You're flying. You're flying. You're absolutely killing it. So, that could be a really tasty game.
I mean, when we played them last time, we were in the same group as them and they beat us. But that was when we've been such a streaky team. And that was when we're in the middle of a bad streak.
Sure.
Now you've got the form, momentum, players coming back from injuries.
Yeah.
Some really strong additions, I think. Obviously, we'll see how that plays out. But I think some pretty strong additions in the transfer window so far.
Good window.
Life seems good at the moment in terms of the direction of travel. I think it's something like 7 in 9 we've won. So
right time.
We had so we beat Villa under 21s in the last round at Villa Park, which was very strange.
Big stadium, nobody in it.
Big stadium, 1,000 people in it. It was like watching a game during COVID.
Yeah.
And I have never seen such a men versus boys. For the first half an hour of that game, you were thinking this could be like a 10. Ooh. We were just so all over them.
Wow.
Corner after corner after corner and connecting with anything. And they were so nervous. And I think it was like 3-0 after. Was it 3-0? It was 2-0 after maybe 12 minutes.
Okay.
And then they got one back, just a piece of really good skill from one of their players. And we probably didn't try as hard. They got back into the game. We ended up winning 3-1, but it was a 3-1 that could have been a lot more. But it was fun. I was texting someone saying this is fun, just to kind of see us be that dominant. And then we went to Carlisle on Saturday, and we've not won at Carlisle in 40 years.
Wow.
It's just one of those places that
wow.
We just struggle time after time after time. Went there, beat them 1-0. And it was, Carlisle did all right for the first 15, 20 minutes. We rode out the storm.
Gotcha.
And then really controlled most of the game from there for all Carlisle's possession.
Wow, okay.
And I fear for Carlisle. They're 7 points adrift at the moment. And I think one of the things that with Mike Williamson's style, which, something Graham Alexander said in the build-up to the game is they've signed so many players in the window. We don't know who's going to line up, but we know how they're going to line up.
Yeah.
And so we can prepare for how we know they're going to line up. And you just wonder if there's no plan B there.
Right.
That when it works, it works exceedingly well.
Yeah.
But we knew how they'd set up and they didn't deviate from that. And so, yeah, in the end,
you're flying. I mean, you're
3
flying.
points.
I mean, 7 wins and 9. What are you up? Top 3 now?
So we're not, because of the way that League Two is, we're still 8th. But
Jesus,
we're a win from second or third.
Okay, so it's wide open.
Yeah. And there's more of a gap forming now behind us. Because there was a time when 12th all the way up to second was a point in it.
Yeah.
So right now it's Walsall 12 points above everybody.
They're up.
And we play them on Saturday. So that'll be an interesting.
And they've won 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Bar us being the one that they didn't win.
Yeah, so we have them at home on Saturday, which should be a good, get Valley Parade filled up, top of the table coming to town on a good run. Hopefully is a good game.
No, that'd be a good game. Look, they are what they are. They're basically 3 at the back. They're wing backs. They're get the ball in the box. They're one of our scouts had done a bit of a report on them before we played them and described them as very much the Wrexham of League Two at the moment, the way they play. It's not an insult to them, by the way. They're doing phenomenal. Some very good pieces, some very good players, good recruitment. They won the league. I said that.
Yeah.
And like I said, they peppered us in that second half. I mean, we always felt we could go and score more, but typical the way we're going at the moment, we fell into that, we'll just sit on 3-1. Well, that's not how we're built. Like, we're not built. We've never been built that way. And the sooner my players realize that we just don't sit on things, we have to keep going and try and score goals. That'll be a cracking game. That'll be a high-scoring game on Saturday for you guys.
So wait for a 0-0 Borefest again.
No. That's a 2-2, a 3-2 game.
Yeah,
definitely, without a doubt. You can almost take that to the bank.
And we've, dealing with Andy Cook. So I can't remember if we said on the podcast last time, but it was confirmed that he did his ACL.
You suspected. You haven't got it confirmed. You suspected, but you got the boy Melanin, which is a great signing and replacement. So
so we got him. So he hasn't really played much yet. So he's been on the bench. We got him in. We got Tommy Lee in from NK Dons as well. We've been playing. So Callum Kavanagh's been getting a chance back up front, and he's scored 3 in 5 maybe. So he's having scored 1 in 18 previously. So it's just interesting. It's just interesting how you play differently. We've got a lot of very attacking players, but that coming through from midfield, but that didn't necessarily the style of play didn't necessarily suit them when you're kind of lumping it up to Andy Cook and letting him do whatever Andy Cook does.
I did say this. It'd be interesting when you move past Cook to see what you can become.
Mm-hmm. And so we've won 3 from 3 so far. He was in with the fans at the weekend, which I think
fair play to him. Yeah. Fair play to him. I mean, is he got a year left next year?
Yeah, so he's still got a year on his contract. So we'll see. I don't know really what the timeline is for an ACL at that age for coming back. And in what form he comes back. Not form, but in what fitness.
So I'm seeing you getting a bit boisterous on Twitter with all the calmness and the happiness and whatever else. So you're pretty much thinking now that the moans and the cringing and the backbiting, that's going to kind of be done now.
For a couple of weeks. Partially is me just being facetious, in that a month ago, everyone's going, we're going to have protests and Graham Alexander doesn't deserve to be anywhere near the
sparks out.
Exactly. And all that will happen again in a month's time. So there was just and last time, I think maybe a month or so ago, we talked about the fact that we were kind of struggling, but I felt that we had a playoff squad there at least when everyone got back. And I took a fair bit of stick for that everyone's like, just out of touch or whatever. But I really believed that it was there. And here we are, a month later. So it's just that there's something is there, and everyone was giving people crap for what was essentially an injury crisis at the time.
Yeah.
So I just think with the additions, the squad is good enough to go up.
Yeah.
So there should be no excuses. Let's just hope that we carry the form.
And I agree. Same with the Posh with the signings we made this January. There's no excuses. It's like, get on with winning now. I don't want to hear any more moaning. I don't want to hear about injuries or whatever. Let's go and start winning some football games. You know what I mean? Because the squad is more than good enough to fly up the table.
Yeah.
But they've got to start going out and doing it on the pitch, a bit like what you guys started doing, now, and just get on with it, So that's kind of what I'm waiting for to happen.
Yeah, there's players that been out of form that are starting to click. There's players that you buy that are young kids who you think, I'm not really sure if they're going to make it, and then with the experience, they're in and out of the team, come back in the team. One of our fullbacks, who's really wing backs, Richards, looks really, really good now, and he hasn't looked very good when he started, but now you can really see he's motoring down that wing, he's creating chances, he's scored a couple, confidence is there. There's just a lot more.
Amazing what can happen with a bit of patience.
Right. Patience, and as we talk about all the time, a bit of momentum once you start winning.
Yeah. Patience, support, momentum, all those things, you know what I mean? So, look, long may it continue, and I do hope that Bradford and Posh play in the old Truth final. That'd be incredible.
So there's a couple of, we've got, as I said, Walsall at home, then we've got Morecambe at home, and then Wimbledon away. So that, I was going to say that Walsall and Wimbledon are tough, but that would be disrespectful to Morecambe because every single game is tough, and we struggle against Morecambe typically. So
your ex-manager, isn't it, right? So it's kind of like,
he always manages to stick the knife in.
Yeah. Kind of, look, it doesn't matter who they're called. It doesn't matter the names of the teams. Like I said to you, it's like, I think the press had us losing the Walsall. They had me, before the game against Leyton Orient thinking we're playing Real Madrid. So I just think it always comes down to how's your form, what's the run of results, what's going on. That's just the way it's going.
So let's move on a little bit. As always, plenty of sackings and new managers and all that good fun going on. But if we're going to the Premier League, first of all, before we go to the top, just a shout out for Bournemouth at the weekend, beating Newcastle 4-1 at St James's.
Wow. I mean, like, how many players? I mean, you hear the Spurs manager moaning about their injuries. What about Bournemouth? I mean, wowee. I mean, how long are they going to keep him as manager? I mean, he just seems to be, wow. I mean, incredible. Bournemouth are just defying the odds again. To go there, Newcastle had won, 7, 8, 9 in a row, whatever they were on. And then Bournemouth go in there and win like that. I mean, mad stuff in the Premier League.
They're a point off fourth.
Well, look at Forest.
Yeah.
I mean, Forest, Bournemouth. I mean,
6 points off the top, Forest.
The Premier League table's upside down. It's just, it's astonishing, really. So it's exciting. It's good, it's just what you want. And, to see some of those clubs suddenly have a chance to get into Europe. That's what football's all about, right? You don't always want it to be the same 5 or 6 clubs every year. And, you see United and Spurs struggling, and then you see Forest and Bournemouth up there. And don't forget Brighton as well. So, brilliant to see.
Yeah, and Brighton beat Man United, didn't they? 3-1.
Comfortably, very comfortably, yeah. So, I mean, the damage that Ten Hag did, the spending he did, and the players he brought in, I'm not sure how quick they were going to recover from that. My mighty Reds obviously went to Brentford, got 2 late Darwin goals. Great.
Yeah, you've been sweating at 0-0 after 90 minutes, and then a couple of injury time goals came through.
Brilliant to see, and lovely to see Nunez get off the proper mark again in 2025 because he hasn't scored enough goals. So, and then Arsenal obviously shit the bed in the 2-2 against Villa, so that was obviously interesting to watch. But
Man City still complaining about handball from what I see on social media.
Man City are starting to purr again. What did I say? So don't be surprised that they win 15 games in a row.
So what do you make of Erling Haaland's 10-year contract?
I'm surprised. I really thought he would be the type of player that would go to Real Madrid. He might still, I don't know the specifics, but look, I guess Man City are in rebuild mode and they're trying to tie down their best players, and I guess Foden will be next, and they've made 3 or 4 very good signings this month. I said that they'd have 2 rebuilds this month and in the summer. I think Pep's come through a horrible period on and off the field by the sounds of it. I think that'll make him a scary proposition next year. He'll be re-energized, and if he has 8, 9, 10 new players in his squad, that gives a manager a real...
It's almost like a new project, isn't it?
It is like a new project. So, and I'm, a little bit with us, the last window and this window, next window, same type of thing where you want to re-energize and you got new blood and new faces and you want to start seeing that come to fruition. So don't write Man City off. They'll be very dangerous. And I still think now they'll finish top 2. And I'm just praying Liverpool get the title and get to celebrate in front of the Kop and, proper parade this time, unlike during COVID. So that would be the dream scenario. But my worry has always been with Liverpool, the squad, the injuries and the lack of support, obviously, and all those, or the lack of business that could be done in windows. So you always worry, but they seem to be, and I'm going to give the owners credit as well. They've got some great people they put behind the scenes back in place. They seem to be very much unified. They seem to be as one. Who am I to question? Who's anyone to question Liverpool and the way they recruit, even these 3 contract situations? Because the top of the league, the top of the Champions League table.
What do you want? And they've been competitive over the last few years as well, from a period of time before that where it was always mid-table, maybe try and get into the top 6.
Yep.
And now it's sustained. You know, you're in for trophies every year.
I think, you know, since it was 30 years since we won a league, and, you know, Fenway came in and won a league title, you know, and if they go and do another one, you know, come on. How can you keep criticising ownership like that? So, again, fair play to them. I think they'll have one eye in the next 2 windows looking at areas like left back. I still think Salah and Van Dijk will sign. I'm less optimistic on Trent. But, you know, with Arnie and the way what he's doing, golden period, baby, golden period. So, you know, if he can deliver that title in his first year, wow.
Yeah, what an achievement.
Yeah, what an achievement. So, and, you know, having lost out to titles to City when we only lost 3 games over like 2 years or 3 years, you know, and picked by 100 points or 102 points to 100 and all those things that happen. So maybe it would be a nice, sweet justification, and, you know, that they end up getting a title this year while everyone else is out of sorts up there. So it'll be interesting times.
And then on the blue side, David Moyes came back in, which I think is a great appointment for Everton. Very
solid. Good club for him to go back to with that new stadium, new ownership. They'll be absolutely fine. I wouldn't. Yeah. I think there's so many weaker teams down near the bottom this time. I don't think Everton will be any danger of going down.
What do you make of what's going on at Spurs? You know, it seems like Ange is having a bit of a. He's getting feisty or feistier. I don't know if that's because his back's against the wall.
He needs to calm down. He needs to calm down. I saw him biting again in the interview, and, you know, and with all due respect, when you're on a horror run, and I've said this to my own manager, you're going to get it from the press, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're not winning football games, you're going to get shot at. Just like when you are winning and you're getting loads of credit. This is what happens. I guess my question, if I own Spurs, would be, why have we got so many injuries? Like, why is 90% of the squad not available? Why is it so many players are injured? What's going on? Why is Solanke, who hardly ever got injured at Bournemouth, now all of a sudden injured at Spurs? Like, why is that happening? Do you need to, you know, I've asked a question of my own staff this year. You know, why have we, I get it, you know, some are unlucky, but why so many? Why so many issues? So is it the pitches? Is it the training? Are they training too much? Are they not training enough? Is it what's going on? You know, you're the manager, Ange. So answer the question, why have you got 25 injuries? And at what stage do you look at what you're doing on the training field and maybe the way you're doing things to change it? Because that just can't keep happening for one of the biggest clubs in the world.
No, we were talking about this off mic, weren't we, before we started, and the Lions in the NFL and all the injuries that the Lions as well.
100%.
And, you know, there's a point in time where you stop using bad luck as an excuse.
Look in the mirror.
And have a think, what are we doing that's setting these players up?
Absolutely.
That they're made like glass.
Yeah. And, you know, that at some stage you have to self-reflect and go, is this an us problem? Like, you know, and I had that conversation before I flew to the UAE a week and a half ago. We had all the staff in, and the sports science team were in us go, hey, you know, it was Gustav, our new signing, missed the first game because I had something wrong. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We've had this guy in the building for 2 months.
Waiting him for how long? Right.
2 months. And now I'm told, I mean, I nearly had a meltdown when we were playing Wrexham and the manager's telling me he's not available. And I'm just like, well, what is going on? What's going on? Are we being too cautious? Are we, you know, and you have to. And to be fair to everyone in my room, we have an open, you know, conversation forum and go, guys, you know, do you agree with this? Is there something wrong? Is there something more I can do? Where are we going wrong? Last year was so right. This year it's so wrong. Did we play too much last year? You know, you start going down the houses and go, well, you know, Ronnie played 65 games. I think he had injury issues earlier on in the season for Southampton pre-season. Efron Mason-Clark played 65 games. He's had some injury issues for Coventry. You know, you start going through some of the players and go, Jesus, you know, is this a reflection? Was last year they played so many?
They didn't have recovery last year.
Right. And so, you know, and again, you can't blame your sports science department. My poor guy in the team was like, I think he was wearing a bulletproof vest by the time he came out at meeting. But it's frustration. Everyone wants the same thing. We want our players available. We want everyone fit. We want everyone like, you know, your strongest 11. And that frustration for us this year.
when you have a team like that, whose ultimate accountability is it? Is it the manager?
Yes and no. I mean, we've got Lewis has run sports science, Chats is the physio, and they're both brilliant. They're phenomenal, and it would be easy for me to say they're both rubbish and they need to go.
I don't mean
and that's why it's not worked out. But that's crap because they're both brilliant, and I saw that last year when we had 94% availability. We were as good as anyone for keeping our best 11 fit.
Yeah.
And I just think so many things have happened this year, circumstances, but there are things you're thinking, well, okay, is it the pitches? We did new pitches, we did new, all those little things. Do we need to do double sessions instead of one session? Do we need to be physically stronger in the gym? Or that, I dig in. I go like things like Con Clark. How do we get him in better shape? And he's been with us since the summer. George Evatt needs to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Why is that? Questions I ask, because when I invest in those players, we always have a plan and go, Evatt was 18. We know that when he puts muscle on, he's going to be some player to deal with the physicality rigors. So 5 months later, I'm like, well, that was in an email in the summer. Right, Con Clark, and to be fair to Con Clark, he's dropped a massive amount of body weight since he's come in. But again, you want more. So you're like, okay, we're so I'll always, and to be fair to them, they'll always come back and they'll tell me, and they're working the balls off. So it'd be really easy to say everything to do this season is down to them. No, we collectively have to take responsibility from coaches, manager, them, me, Barry, everyone, that whatever we've all done hasn't been our best this year or in 2024. And that's where we have to kind of change that cycle in 2025. So one thing I know about football is things change quickly, So yeah, as we all know.
And I'm just seeing if I can find. Well, I was looking for a championship. I guess maybe let's see, what have we got in the championship? We had Cardiff beating Swansea in the derby game down there, 3-0. Hull getting a win. I think they've been struggling of late, but they got a win just to take them out of the relegation zone. QPR, I didn't see if Ronnie played or not.
He did.
He did
very well.
Yeah. They beat Plymouth 1-0, and Coventry 1-0 versus Bristol City. Let's see what else down that list. Sheffield United keep on. Harrison got 2 for Sheffield United. I hope you got a goal bonus in there too.
We've got a bonus every time he fucking does something, trust me, So I'm, that league with Burnley and Leeds, I'm like, we got a million reasons for wanting Sheffield United to go up. So, Harrison, I think, has been probably the best left back nearly in that league this year. So for him and to see him do what we thought he would do, and, going back to when I was arguing with them at the start about, is it too expensive what they paid? What a bargain he's turned out to be.
Do examples like Harrison help you in negotiations further down the line when you
absolutely? I mean, Mason Clark just won Player of the Month in the Championship because he's finally playing wide left.
Yeah.
So absolutely, there's them, there's Harrison, even Ronnie. You could argue, never got a chance at Southampton, but you ask the QPR fans, is that money in the bank for what Southampton paid? Southampton will be going back down, and he'll play 50 times for them next year. And every Southampton fan will be a bit like the Sheffield United fans at Boroughs. They'll be like, wow, wow, wow. So all those latest batch of talent we've sold that's moved up, they're all playing a part, whether it be Schmoddix and Ipswich in the Premier League, Jack Taylor, you go through the list, there's no duds in there. All those players are flying. So I don't hear anyone moaning about when Peterborough sell a player, for big money. Mm-hmm. It's nonsense. These players are made to play higher. And I still swear blind, we've got a lot of those in our current squad. They've just fallen below their standards and they need to get back to them.
So Luton second bottom now, but Matt Bloomfield joined them from Wycombe, which seems, on the outside, it seems like a not a strange move, because I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for it, but not an obvious move for him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's fine with Wycombe, but, with all due respect to Wycombe, Luton, you would argue being in the Premier recently are a bigger club. They got a stadium, they got all those things. It's a good move for him. I mean, obviously I was, my manager, God bless him, he's like, Jesus, 6 good months, and you're getting those kind of jobs, it's amazing how football works. I was surprised how long they took to get rid of the previous manager since they'd started the season so badly. But yeah, it didn't, and Wycombe have had a phenomenal first half of the season. So there'll be an interesting run-in.
Yeah, and that bottom is really tight at the moment. So you have Luton in 23rd on 26 points, Stoke in 18th on 28. So what's that? 2 points between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clubs down there at the bottom. And, big clubs. You got Stoke, Derby, Cardiff, Hull, Portsmouth, Luton.
Pick a 3. Well, Plymouth obviously at the bottom, are they?
Plymouth are bottom on 21 points. And, you know, 5 points adrift, that's not insurmountable with all the amount of games that's left to play. There's still, what, 19 games for them?
Yeah, nothing.
So, it's not like they're cut adrift particularly, but, you know, they need to find some form.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. There's a lot of clubs in there. I couldn't speak about League One because I haven't looked at that table since the season started. So,
well, we know that you don't table watch.
People will be like, you should be watching the table.
I think one of the managers that's under a bit of pressure at the moment is Ian Evatt at Bolton.
Yeah,
so he got a vote of confidence. Fans are chanting for him to be sacked. I actually was asking Henry about this. Henry, our producer, is a Bolton fan, just backwards and forwards beforehand. And I think the feeling is that it's probably just a matter of time before Everett does leave. And maybe that's going to be the end of the season. Maybe it's...
I think he gets on well with the owner. I think they've had some good success. I think they're not a million miles out of the playoffs, are they?
Let's have a look. But when do you find there's sometimes a point of no return for a manager? Yeah, I mean, they're 9th place. This is what's crazy. 9th place, 3 points off the playoffs. And, you know, fans chanting for him to be sacked.
Yeah, look, sometimes you overstay your welcome at a club. He's been very successful for them. He's always had them up there. He's won promotions. I think it's a little bit too premature, some of the stuff going on about him. I think, you know, a couple of wins, the season changes. Look at what's happening at Bradford. Bolton's that club that's capable of going on a run and winning games. Obviously, they've got Randall now, so it'll be interesting to see how he beds in with them. Yeah, it's a big club, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and just looking at that table, so we have Birmingham top of the table on 56 points, Wycombe just below on 54, and then Wrexham, Huddersfield, Barnsley, and Stockport in the playoffs. Now, Reading have really come up there as well. Yeah. Reading,
Huddersfield will make that run. They've just spent money on 2 strikers that are as good as anything in League One. They're unbeaten in 16. I think they were 2-0 down. Was it the weekend? And came back.
Yeah, 2 in 5 minutes just after half time. I think.
So I think you're looking at, you know, Huddersfield will, in my opinion, if you're asking me who's going up, I'd say automatically it would be Birmingham and Huddersfield.
Yeah, and we'll see how the next couple of weeks play out. If I go over to League Two, we talked about Walsall already. Walsall, I think they kept on moving yet. They lost who was the chap that scored all the goal? Nathan
Lowe to Stoke, he scored for Stoke at the weekend.
Yeah, so they lost him. They still won 4-2 over MK Dons
the
weekend. And so Port Vale, Crewe in second right now, Port Vale third, AFC Wimbledon, Notts County, Doncaster, Salford, and then us. So it's 5 points between us and second. We're in 8th.
You couldn't call the top 3. You call the top 1, but you couldn't call the rest. And to see Crewe up there again, fair play. I love that. I love everything about their club doing that. You know, so you know they're just such a beacon of hope for football clubs. So you know,
I mean, they don't spend the money, do they? But they're always there.
They just keep doing it. You know, a bit like Exeter, we're playing tomorrow night. You know, do the same and run their club so well. And I need them to, you know, for us to beat them tomorrow. So, but no, fair play to Crewe. And it's going to be an interesting run-in. Let's see what happens. Obviously, I'll have my Bradford thoughts in there, and hopefully they'll go up automatically and, you know, be up by April. So that would be magnificent.
That would be nice. But as we said earlier, I'm a bit more hopeful than I've been for a little while.
Good.
So we shall see. Let me just, before we run, let's go look at the National League, because I haven't looked at the table there for a little while. So Forest Green top, Barnet second, York third at the moment. I know York splashed the cash a couple of weeks ago on a striker.
Yeah, they've gone from top to third very quickly. So interesting. But Forest Green, you know, experienced manager, you know, League Two. God bless Barnet. I think they sold their leading goal scorer. You know, but are always up there as well. So again, if you're going to call it, I would say Forest Green to go up, and then you know, I pray Barnet come out of the playoffs and go up. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap up there.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, we hope you get some more recovery time in before. So how long are you still in the UK for? Are you staying through the window?
I got lots of business stuff on, work stuff on, so it'll be the end of the window, and then I got a lot of college visits then in February back stateside. So, yeah, get over the flu, get back to winning some football games, and then we get the Hard Truth Cup final. So that'll be
Yeah.
a dream couple of months. Do you know what I mean? So yeah,
counting down the days already.
Exactamundo. So thanks, fans, for tuning in. Appreciate you all. And again, a final thing to the Posh fans out there about the branding thing. Kamate, it's calm down. Let it all play out. And, you know, we won't be doing anything without listening to our fans properly. So, you know, you got my word on that.
All right. Well, with that said, let's call it a day, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Right, thanks, everybody.